Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3. And in this particular video, I want to talk about PhD life or feeling lost at academic conferences. And this is just my own personal experiences. So if you don't know, I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And I'm currently at an academic conference right now. I'm in my hotel room. You can see right now I'm in Chicago, and that building right there is the Trump Towers that are right behind me of all things. It's kind of, it is a very beautiful building. But anyways, so I want to actually get into this idea of feeling lost at academic conferences. So if you don't know, the whole Reciprocity project is me trying to give back as much as I possibly can. And there is a sharing, I just created this platform. It's a sharing economy proofreading platform to sort of incentivize people to help out others with their proofreading and editing abilities. And then I started to actually do all these videos about helping out academics, particularly those that are thinking of doing a PhD or going in and becoming a PhD of some sort, going into academia. So, there's a few things. So I'm just giving this my own personal experience. It's the end of a day of a long conference that I've been doing. I've been going since probably about 7:30 this morning. I got up and started doing things, and then it's late now, and I am pretty exhausted, and there was lots of stuff. I was talking actually about my reciprocity platform to some people, and they're very excited in it, but in terms of the potential, because if you watch some of the older videos, a component of what I'm trying to do is to help out academics be able to do randomized controlled trials in the background. So things about like organizational design and stuff. But anyways, I won't go into that too much. I don't want to scare you in any sort of way. But one thing that I have noticed, and I really did want to talk about this, is just that a lot of times you feel absolutely lost at academic conferences, particularly these large, very large academic conferences. And that is a completely normal thing with these things. And I still feel like this. I've been doing this since 2005. It is now 2000, going to various forums, actually probably even 2000 and, oh God, 2003 when I started doing my first academic conferences. And it doesn't really change a lot in terms of that feeling lost. And if you're an extrovert, this video, you can probably skip it. It doesn't necessarily matter for you, but if you are an introvert, which probably a lot of academics are, or else we wouldn't be these bookworm kind of people, it still stresses me out to be around a lot of people. And so this is, a couple of things I wanted to sort of get across in terms of what the experience is, or maybe some ways to cope with it. So the first thing that you should probably know with these experiences is that absolutely everybody feels lost at these things, and they're kind of looking around to help, just find somebody to talk to. So a lot of people are really willing to talk to other people, and that is kind of a nice thing, but it is kind of awkward sort of conversations on a regular time, on a regular basis. So one thing I did notice today is, so I've been doing this for a long time, I'm starting to get to know a few more people. It is getting a little bit more fun in the sense that the more that you attend and the more that you're in academia, the more that people know who you are. So just walking around, and this is not a popularity contest or anything, but it's just a simple fact of being in the game for a while. You do start to sort of run into similar people, and you can have a conversation with them because you saw them previously, in various sort of situations. And it could be it is definitely fun to do that sort of component of it, but at the same time you do feel pretty lost throughout the process. For me, it's as an introvert or somebody that sort of has a hard time with that, it does give me, I'm very stressed, and it is an emotional drain at the end of the day. So I'm just kind of recouping on that. One thing that is kind of helps with some of that stuff, and early on in your PhD program, it's probably not going to be like this at all because you don't know a lot of people, but maybe a couple years in, maybe 3-4 years in, you can maybe start doing this, but try to maybe arrange like meetups with friends and just go for walks or go check out the city, maybe go out for dinner or something like that. That always does help, and it makes it a little bit more fun. You know, it definitely is a plus of being able to do that, to sort of navigate this sort of feeling lost. Um, that you just feel like you're lost in the crowd. Another thing that I wanted to point out, so this is probably the fourth thing that I think is very important to think about if you're doing these academic conferences. In my experience, I've learned this, is try not to attend the conference too long. I know that lots of people will try to attend as long as they possibly can, and those are probably introverted people, or extroverted people. But for me, it requires a lot of emotional energy, and so if I stay too long, it just doesn't feel that good. So I try to keep things as short as possible, especially with the larger conferences. And that's probably the fifth thing that I want to talk about is you should really think about sort of smaller conferences. If there is sort of these, and there's lots of them, you just have to kind of be part of a network that gets, you know, invited, or that people start talking about them. But there's like these little mini conferences that are like 30 people or 20 people or something like that. Those are really worth your time to go to. They're really insightful, and you usually, with those kind of things, you end up building deeper relationships than with sort of these large things. So what I find with these larger conferences, you know, the Academy of Management and stuff like that, which is one of the larger ones, I think it's like 14 or 15,000 people. It's crazy. And it ends up being this, like, there's a lot of formality and sort of display that happens. And I'm sure that a lot of you that are in industry and you're watching this, you probably do recognize some of these sort of things, but there is kind of like a pomp and circumstance that goes along with all of it. And it's fun and it's great, but at the same time, it's emotionally draining. And I do find these sort of smaller conferences where you can go and you can meet a few people and build a relationship. They're a little bit more energizing than these bigger ones where you just feel, you know, it's pretty overwhelming in a lot of different ways. So that's all I wanted to talk about in terms of being, you know, dealing with these kind of these issues. This is going to come up for you if you do any of the academic stuff and you think of doing a PhD. You should do a couple of conferences. You know, you should aim for, with a PhD, you should aim for maybe one a year. Maybe, you know, if things are going great, two a year, but generally one a year, whatever the you know, conferences you're going to. Some people do a little bit more, but at the beginning you tend not to do a lot of conferences. So don't worry in your first year. Even your first 2 years, don't worry about not or going to them and stuff like that. I mean, it's relevant, but at the same time, it's not going to harm you in any sort of way. But you should start making, you know, progress towards attending these particular things. But when you're a PhD student, you should actually attend some of these larger conferences like this. It is a signal to the marketplace on your CV that you're being research active of going to something like this, unless you're going to a really, really good research active sort of small conference that people recognize, but a lot of people aren't going to recognize those. So that's an important thing to think about in terms of, you know, career mobility and stuff early on. It's a signal to the marketplace that you're actually doing stuff. And, you know, that's one thing that you should think about going forward. So with that, I should go back to enjoying my peace and quiet after this conference and relaxing with, I got some whiskey here. I'm going to have a little drink of whiskey. I probably shouldn't say that on YouTube. But anyways, so take care and have a wonderful day. All right, bye.